In this video, I'm going to make a response to Mideast Girl. There was a comment that was made that it was on a video that I put up about my deconversion, and it's kind of a, it's kind of a heartfelt story, and then it has a happy ending, but it's meant really, honestly, I'm okay. What I do here is try to tell my raw story to show people where I came from and where I am. That's a part of just being an example of how to navigate the material, and if you do, what it looks like. These are the kind of things when you find this path, it's very much an individual path. So the only thing you can do is show people the path. You don't tell people what to do and they're better. Okay. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Okay. Let me get into this because, sometimes, it's a big picture, isn't it really? Life and what we're looking for, the discussion, all the possibilities. And, I'm in a strange place using the Bible without being Christian. Let's just get into what's the question here, and I'll get into it. Sometimes questions open up avenues of discussion that probably need to be laid out on the table. So let's see what we have here. Dear Daniel, your story brought me to tears. You are a very good narrator, by the way. No, it's obvious. You don't need any advice. You come up very clear-minded, strong, and at peace. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you saw that. And yeah, that's it right there. There's a tear-jerking stories that came out fine and strong and at peace. I am. Okay. I watched your video because I wanted to find out how you found your way back to God. I'm not a Christian, but I'm open to every form of religion, religious or non-religious people. Okay. I didn't find my way back to God. What I found my way back is to the God that is referenced in all of the material. This is very bizarre. I don't know how to say this enough. If you take religions out of the picture, take them out. Take humans before religions existed. You have to go there. If you think there was a creation and religion and life started at the same time, you're not going to get here. This will never be something you can understand. They didn't start at the same time. Humans were here long before religions came about. And before religions came about, there was a certain energy way that humans worked in our life, in a collective, from the cosmos where we come from. There was a certain way that things work, and based on that, the way things work naturally, there is a template that is made. That template that is made is then converted into stories, religions, mythologies. The same template that is in Jewish material is in the Mahabharata. It's in Indian material. The people that think they're separate don't understand what there is. There's one template. There is one God, but everybody's gods that look outward, that's the way the story is made. And when you find out the inward is the God, and where you access that, you find something different. You have to enter the narrow gate. For me, there is no such thing as supernatural. If anybody ever brings that to the table, that's an instant shutdown. I won't even have, that's like saying, okay, now that we know that the earth is flat, okay, get that person out of here. Well, it's just unreasonable. If you say, I believe in something supernatural and I have faith in it, now let's try to explain something and figure out what Jesus is taking, that's fine. But if it's something new, supernatural is what there is and that must be it, boy, you know what? You're not looking for anything. There's something in the material that is very interactive, and claiming supernatural is going to prevent you from finding it. Think this through. We live in a universe that is beholden to laws. There are certain universal laws, and without those laws in place, we would not even exist. Everything that exists within the universe is going to exist within those laws. To claim supernatural is to claim something exists in the universe that's not beholding to those laws. Do we know that? Why would there be? How could there be something that is not natural existing within something that is natural? Wouldn't something that is natural come from something else that is natural? I can't see why you would say supernatural. Supernatural would mean that something exists that can't be ever verified, and that means you have to stop looking. You just make that claim. I believe that if God and angels and all of that exist, they would be natural. We just haven't found them yet. So don't call things supernatural and be done with it. You call things natural and say, I haven't found it yet. So there's a backwards way of thinking here that's, people are done. They come at you with Christian. This is what it is. They're done thinking. You are far down the road. Okay. All right. What is God? I have a God, but it is the God of the template. It is the God of humanity, not the God of Christianity, the God of many gods of Hinduism or all of the religions. Okay. There is, when you extract the template God is a place where we go to in our mind where we are in touch with, or we are experiencing the higher awareness. Let me describe this. It's better to do it this way. We know that in our mind there are compartments. It's already compartmentalized. In my Father's house are many mansions. There's going to be ways of this is being taught. If there were not, I would not have told you so. What we're looking at right here now is a consciousness and a subconscious that we're very, very aware of. We know that we are right now using the conscious and talking, thinking, listening, engaging, answering the phone, doing the conscious is the interface to the world and what's going on. But we also sense things from outside. We're going to, at first we don't feel emotion to it. We don't know what to, when something happens, we don't know how to classify it emotionally. Later we begin to put emotion to it. Okay, yeah, that was bad. I don't like it. Or it was hurtful. I mean, so there's certain things. It depends on what they are. Sometimes the emotion becomes the issue. In fact, what we know happens just by looking back on it, that as time has gone by and it's grown, that you can now sit there long after the fact, bring it up in your mind, remember it, and experience the emotion of it. Yeah, you can feel it. So now, instead of living in the moment when that happens, you're living past experience in your consciousness. Even though you are physically in the moment, your mind is experiencing something from the past. Then as life goes on, really, these experiences, just look back on it, we become more and more complicated. We become a bundle of our memories and our experiences when we're unaware. And when we're not having a fun experience in the moment, and the consciousness then will start beginning to experience the past. So the mind can experience the present or the past. That is what becomes us, what we live through. And then the conscious, as we're not paying attention and life goes on and we become more and more complicated, we find that all those, we used to sleep through the night and everything was fine when you were a kid. Later, now you're waking up in the, 3, 4 in the morning, tossing, turning, your mind is out of control. That the memories have been piled up in there. They wake us up in the consciousness, like in this turmoil of conflict. We're trying to get away from conflict, but we can't. We can't get away from that conflict right there. We've got it made up in our minds and our memories. But at that time, our conscious is experiencing something that isn't happening at that time. It's coming from thoughts, memories, fears. That's what we're experiencing at that time. Now, every once in a while in this process, everybody should experience this outside voice, at least for a short period of time, telling you, hey, you got to relax. There's nothing you can do tonight. You know that. Just go to sleep. God, let it go. But that doesn't happen. We let that little voice go and slip right back into it. Now stop and pay attention when that little voice is talking to you and it's going, hey, you got to let things go. You'll notice that at that time, you are no longer, at that moment, you're not consciously feeling the emotions. You disconnect at that time. Then you go right back. Okay, we're feeling different compartments of us. This part up here, if you stop and go, you know what? I'm not going to let that slip away. What is this? What is this here? I'm not going to let that slip away and go right back into my memory. Stop and engage with this. Yeah. This right here, you are engaging your consciousness with the higher awareness. Out there, that is God. You're not God. God is not up here. You're communicating with something that is out there that makes you go, okay, those are my memories. That's my world experience. Okay, so God to me is that right there. That right there is where you get to because of the disconnection from the emotion. This is where you, in your own mind, where you're going to be utilizing that and your memories blending together for healing. And that's going to take time. But people want to push a button. Hey, where's the easy button? How do I do an emotional lobotomy? Boy, it's been a tough life. I'm sitting here now before you, but I have, I've woken up in my urine and my vomit. I've thought times, boy, it's a good thing I don't own a gun. I sit here before you today, but it's not been, I didn't just pop here. So you have to understand that in your own world, that it's not, I don't think there's an easy button. All right, I don't want to get off track here. What I want to do is just be really straight up raw. Things are okay. They haven't been okay. They haven't always been okay, but there's been a drive and a push to continue to work, to function, I've always looked for what does it take to make me happy? Eventually something happens. It's a mumbling, stumbling, fumbling process that's very confusing. And if you can find people that have done it, it can be helpful. All right, so back to the God then, that's it right there. So when I say God and what I got back to, that if you were to unravel the template, like look in religious material. We come from this higher awareness, then we live through our memories. Now we want to reattach with the higher awareness. Read the stories. You're going to find that God starts out in the beginning. God completely disappears until it's time for a healing process to begin. God might be in the background sending plagues or something like that. That means life is starting to uncircle. Why is God gone during that time frame? Why would God disappear during the time of this existence? This is my life. God has disappeared during this. This is representation of my life. That is the higher awareness not gone for that period of time. Now we're re-engaging with it. And when it's time to go destroy Sodom, Abraham, the consciousness, stays with God while everything else is happening. These are all representing the idea that, okay, you know what? I got raped. I got molested. I got something. What I have to do in my mind is to, from a place consciously where I have engaged the higher awareness, I'm going to simultaneously, now that I'm doing that, bring up the memories. And the memories are going to make me cry. They're going to make me hurt. They're going to make me feel bad. But what I'm doing purposefully here is to try and look at the memories in such a way that I can release myself from what it is. I can see it. You don't want to go into it to experience it. You want to go into it and look at it from outside. In fact, you know what? This is part of a healing process that I really don't want to get into, actually, because this isn't that kind of a video on it. It's how it can be difficult to engage with your memories. I had some really hard times engaging with certain things. What you ultimately end up doing is you're using the memory and the conscious to go look at the emotion is what you're using to determine the quality of the memory. If you go think of the memory and it makes you feel shame, pain, hurt, somehow something, you get embarrassed, you get whatever, you just measure the emotion when you bring up the memory. And that tells you the nature of what it is. And if it's okay, you're okay. If it, however, isn't okay, then what you want to do is step back from it. You don't want to go experience it, live it. What you've done is you've just gone in and taken a look at it. Oh, that's a thistle. That's this kind. That's that kind. Whatever it is. That one's shame. That one's pain. That one's a wrong belief. So now I'm going to back away from it instead of feeling it and step outside of it and go, where did it come from? Where did I get that thing from? So now from outside, you're starting to examine what's happened down there. In fact, maybe in your own mind, just try it like this. Try to imagine yourself right now and that, all your feelings and all that. Look at that as yourself. Make sure you see that is your pile of memories. Look at yourself and see yourself from up here. And from up here, you're going to investigate on your behalf to see what happened to that individual down there. That at this point in time, as you're doing this stuff, you really separate from the feelings, but it's a mental perception thing. And what that is going to do is you continue to do that. It is going to start putting in your mind this idea that I'm not this isolated little victim down here. I see a bigger picture and that I'm just part of that bigger picture, and that it's okay for me to just let go of my small perception, get bigger, and let go of that smaller thing that I'm hanging on to. Then it makes it easier for us to begin to communicate with each other and to truly heal. When you're out here, you're looking at things in a whole different way. You can also see, as you step back and look at it and you keep examining it mentally, you can see that there's a big energy that emerges in an opportunity for a physical existence that's a limited physical existence, that is you yourself. You come up, but you have to have that limited physical existence, and you are where you are. You don't have any choice. When you become self-aware, it's wherever you are is where you start from. That there's a big place up here that you came from and that you can live from, and that you begin to see that this very minimal start down here, this physical life that you had, is an incredibly small thing that really isn't you, that you are much bigger than that. It helps you to begin to let go of things like that. It's a way to perceive things in such a way that helps your mind find more ease in looking at stuff. It has to cease to be things like, that was my painful life experience as childhood that controls and directs me, to be something more like, that was my opportunity to emerge into the physical, from the physical realm, and to find my way up into a spiritual. It was the opportunity that I had, and here I am. You start looking at things differently, and that helps you begin to release the emotional charge you have on them. It helps you get out of being that victim. So there's a mental process that is nested in the material that allowed me to change. To me, that's what God is. Praying to God to help me feel better never did anything to make all of this stuff go away that had happened, to make all of the hurt go away. Please make it all go away. Nothing ever went away. That's what then what happens is it's replaced with this idea that, you know what, if I can compartmentalize that and feel happy, then it'll be okay when I'm my purpose here. It's written in a way to carry it, but there's something inside of it. We're engaging with it. I'm engaging with it at a deep level, at a core level that a supernatural practitioner is not doing. They're carrying it. We're looking inside. So it's not something done in public. People don't like it. Okay, so let's get back to this. That's my idea of God, okay? Let me further say that we don't have to just do that at night. You can sit there throughout the daytime and go, you know what? I can step outside of myself and look at myself. Oh, okay. I can get to this. If I practice getting to this, that's what we want to do. We want to live from that state right there. And when we're not living through the memories and sitting there mulling over, oh, woe is me and all that kind of stuff, and we're laughing and goofing around and things, that higher awareness, well, I don't even know if that's engaged. It doesn't even matter. You're having fun. When you need to make sure to engage it is when you're sitting there and you're realizing, boy, now things are not going okay. I'm going through a cycle. There's a lot more to it. You've got to interrupt it. You got to be with the right kind of person that's going to allow you to heal. We're in a different day and age today. It's very difficult to do this. When I was doing my healing and I had to talk things out, I was with people at times that struggled with being able to let me talk it out, or just said, no, I'm done. Or, no, that's your problem. I don't have a problem with it, where you couldn't talk it out with them, where you were stuck going, okay, how do I manage it? The other person on the other end is like, I'm not doing it. Do you know this one from the Gospel of Thomas? There's a verse in here. For this reason I say, if the owner of a house knows that a thief is coming, he will be on guard before the thief arrives, and will not let the thief break into the house of his estate and steal his possessions. Somewhere there's another one about knowing that somebody's going to come, a strong man's going to come, so you practice by putting your knife in the wall first before they get there. What these represent is, this is our house. I know you got to a point where you go, man, I got this issue. I cycle this thing. I'm at a point where somebody asks me, why did you do that again? And I go, I don't know. I promise I won't. I don't want to do it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what triggers me. I don't like it. I don't want it. You know that that's going to happen. You begin to look at it and go, okay, the strong man's going to come back and wreck my house again. What do I do? You need to begin looking at the fact that you're carrying this stuff. The seed is inside of you. So that's how the material unfolds and becomes interactive at some point. You know, this is something that'll be easily understood also from the Gospel of Philip from the Nag Hammadi. I recognize these, and I recognize the teachings of what they are. They're very viable. This one's called Hidden Parts. As long as their insides are hidden, most beings in the world are alive and well. If their insides are exposed, they die, as is clear by the example of the visible parts of a person. As long as a person's intestines are hidden, the person is alive. If the intestines are exposed and come out, the person dies. Likewise, while its root is hidden, a tree sprouts and grows, but if its root is exposed, the tree withers. So it is with all things produced in the world, not only the visible, but also the hidden. As long as the root of evil is hidden, it is strong. When it is recognized, it is undone, and if it is brought to light, it dies. For this reason the word says, already the axe is laid at the root of the trees. It will not merely cut them down, for what is cut down sprouts up again. Rather, the axe will dig down until it cuts out the root. Jesus pulled out of the root of the whole place, but others did so only in part. Okay, we got a couple of analogies going on in here. First of all, the one about the intestines. As long as the human being's intestines are hidden inside, the human's alive. If you pull the intestines out, the human dies. Interesting. Makes sense. That's analogous to the root of a tree. As long as the root is hidden, the tree sprouts and grows. If the root is exposed, the tree dies and withers. So it is, as long as the root of evil is hidden, it is strong. When it is recognized, it is undone, and if brought to light, it dies. For this reason the word says, already the axe is laid at the root of the trees. It will not merely cut them down, for what is cut down sprouts again. Rather, the axe will dig down until it cuts out the root. So this is implying the idea that if something emerges and you just chop it down, but haven't pulled out the root, it's going to continue to emerge. There's a cause and effect going on right there. The world is our world. It's our experience. That's me. And whatever we have hidden inside is going to continue to emerge out of us. We know that that's going to happen. At some point we're turned inward, and we know the reason we're acting out, the reason we're triggering, the reason we can't get a hold of something is because of a belief, because of an unresolved issue, because an entire structure of something about our past that is in place. And what we need to do is expose that. And once we expose that and bring it out and surface it, it ceases to be. So it's important for us to find those and to heal them, to expose them, but to do so in very, logical manners, not go, boo-hoo, everybody come and listen to me. Oh, woe is me. Let me enhance this feeling. That's not what you're doing. You're going after it purposefully to feel it, to understand it, and to work with it until that feeling is resolved so that you're no longer living through it. Then what was that last part there? That Jesus went in and cleared out the whole place while others did it only partially. This implies that whoever is on the path is the one that's going to just become a pure being. The same thing would be in the Gospel of Thomas. Which one is it? I'm going to paraphrase. For the person who knows the all, if they still feel one deficiency, they're completely deficient. So there's some people that are like, man, I got to get this monkey off my back. I can't live with it. If I resolve this and that, I can live my life. They went in and did it partially. There's other people that are going to go in and go, man, I want to resolve everything so that I don't feel bad about any of it. It's affecting my whole flow in life. So that wraps up the verse. Get everything out in the open and purify from it. Become poor in spirit. Yeah, it becomes much bigger than, okay, so that's a healing process. The stepping to the God right now is really just mentally stepping back and going, whew, all right, the memories are there. They're going to come back. They're going to keep emerging, but I can at least continue to step back here and go, practice doing this. We habituate. Make this an easier and easier and easier thing to do. It won't be easy at first because habituation. You have to keep doing it, keep doing it. Eventually, it happens a lot quicker. I still catch myself sometimes going, oh, I'm mulling over a bunch of stuff. My mind is off someplace, and I stop and I catch myself and, whew, wait a minute, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, you talk yourself out of whatever you've got going on from a memory standpoint that you're really not in control of at that time. Okay, you know what? I added this in because I mean, people don't talk about this part either. I think it needs to be discussed. When I was early on in life, I was somehow, it seemed like I was being guided. Things were happening. I didn't know it at the time. I can look back on it now and see that it happened. Even the things that I thought were bad sometimes, I might look at now and go, you know what? That thing that you thought was devastating to you probably saved your life. It probably prevented you from dying on the streets. You have to look at things in certain ways that you go, you know what? If it hadn't been for the way that this happened, the way my life was going, I would not have made it here today. You're not in control of that. You're not. Something is just happening. So somehow that is a part of my life. I'm going to say that. But I can also say that when I was early on going through those experiences, I was not healing. I was not resolving that stuff. I was living life and collecting that stuff. It did not turn around for a long time. It took quite a while. It kind of took hitting rock bottom. And, finally going, I cannot live like this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was not long after that I began to understand one thing, that it's a difficult transition for people to make. The biggest one for me was looking at my life and going, boy, I keep going from place to place to place to place and making changes because it's not okay here. Then you go and it's like, oh, yay, a fresh start. After a while, it's like, no, that's not okay either. I'm moving on. Oh, yay, fresh start. After a while, that's not okay either. That was kind of like my life. At some point, I'm sitting there going, after that rock bottom point, and I just sat there and I was in despair. I had cleaned up. Everything was just completely different at that point. And I was like, things begin to emerge. And one thing that I became aware of painfully for myself was that I was involved in every situation. But I can say that for me, what I want to really say is that if life is very difficult and you're struggling to eat, you're eating out of garbage cans and doing things like that, you're not going to be sitting there on spiritual path of enlightenment. You're going to be in a survival mode. The tougher life is, the less you're going to be in a mode for something like this. If you're someplace that's war-torn and you're getting bombed on a daily basis, you're not going to be sitting there meditating and, finding peace in life. There's a reality that we have to put to this. And there's a point in time I have to look at my own life and say, because of where you came from, because you're a white guy that came from here, that could join the military, that could do this, that you honestly, dude, had a lot of opportunity for you. And there are places in the world that didn't. And I have to humble myself and know that. Honestly, this is how the healing part works. How do you paint your life? Go look at things. Well, this happened. It caused that. Well, what if it didn't? Or where did it come from? Where did it come from them, from somehow something? Anyway, okay, I don't want to get into that. That's kind of like a whole different thing. And I'm not, that's mental health stuff. And this is what they were doing back then to change the flow in life and to get to their higher awareness. Mental health doesn't quite go there. It just helps you resolve stuff. It doesn't teach you about the higher awareness, all that. It doesn't teach you all those other things. So there's more in the material, but I think it's very difficult today too. And I think people are very caught up in the supernatural to the degree that this just becomes something that becomes inaccessible to most. All right. It goes on to say, God sent me on a near-death experience when I was 17 without harming me physically or psychologically, and he showed me in that near-death experience the deeper meaning of suffering. Several times he spoke to me in dreams with wonderful, loving answers. And yet the last year I got very angry seeing the tremendous ongoing suffering in Gaza, the Syrian prisoners that got through, and some people around me. All right, so in cases like that, I have feelings on those. I don't believe those situations happen in like in time and space someplace, but that they're real in the mind of the observer that is becoming aware of things. I've had that same thing happen where something happens and I'm like, there's some sort of transference going on out here. So I think if somebody, I don't know what we're seeing or what there is, but there's certainly something. I don't think that happens very often. I think that a lot of times too, I mean, if you look around the world at near-death experiences, you see that people tend to come back with images of their cultural teaching. They don't all come back and say, I've found the truth, and guess what? We were wrong all along. It actually is Jesus. That doesn't happen. People that believe in Allah see, Allah or Muhammad. People that, believe in Krishna see Krishna. So what does that tell you if you step back from it? That there's a mental process, but that doesn't mean that the mental process is defective. It means that there's something else going on simply because I've had a few subtle things of my own. I've never had near-death experiences, so they're not something that I put a lot of stock in. I call them anecdotal stories. I've got my own that I tell people, but I don't preach them as this proves something. I look at it and go, what makes this happen? I can remember one for me. I can say I was younger. Me and a buddy of mine decided to go up in the mountain. It was just we're 18, 19 years old, something like that. We're full of ourselves, a couple of young teenagers, and we're taking a hike up in the mountains with a couple of buddies of ours from work they were from the city and we were from for more in the hills. So we were taking them out on a hike up in the mountains. And this guy and I decided to stay overnight when we were up there. It was like, well, let's just go ahead and stay overnight. And we had no sleeping bags, no tent, no anything. We're getting up into the snow. It didn't take long in the snow for the rest of them. We're like, we're done. I'm not doing this. I'm not walking up there. So me and the other guy went ahead and went up to the top, gave them the keys. They all sent off. And we just said, we'll stay overnight, climb down tomorrow, and hitchhike back. So had a piece of plastic and a couple of snacks or something like that. We went up and put some pine boughs down and tried to sleep in the snow. We about froze to death. I can remember at one point feeling literally I feel like I am in my bedroom and I'm turning up the heat. Got baseboard heating in there, and I'm cranking that heater up to warm it up. And I just feel that viscerally. It feels totally real, like it's happening, like a totally vivid dream. And I wake up, kind of become aware, and I'm actually reaching out into the air, trying to turn it. We got each other spooned. We're freezing. We're freezing. There's a point in time he wakes me up and says, Dan, where are all these people coming from? And I was like, what? He thought that a helicopter landed and people were bringing us blankets and things like that. We were hallucinating to the degree that we thought it was real at a time when we were really doing something stupid and our bodies are saying, you know what, we're going into shutdown mode here, you dumbasses. You shouldn't have been out here in the snow. It definitely happens, and I think it's a natural process. And I work to try to explain them that way. Seriously, I look on my life after denouncing God completely, and people would say, oh, you know what? God is obviously looking out for you. Why don't you believe in God? And I would say, God started blessing me as soon as I stopped believing in him. Why would I start believing in God? I don't need to believe in God to have this happen. But I have to do certain things mentally to have it happen. I have to be aware of things, and I have to make some changes in order for it to happen. Believing in God does not make it happen. If I were to question everything that everybody told me and understand that I need to find things on my own and understand things on my own, what I would surmise from this situation here is that God does not truly wish me to simply worship it. That would be pretty narcissistic. Think about it. I have created you. I need you to worship me. I don't care how you act. Just worship me. Worship me. No, the God would really be like, okay, I've created you. You can do whatever you want to. You can live in fear. You can do different things, but I don't care if you believe in me or not. I want to see how you act without that. How do you act on your own? What kind of a person are you without it? If God's out there and God's watching out for me, then I'm doing the right thing because my life is fine and it's better than it would have been. So I don't know what to say. Okay, I go off on these rambling, healing things too, don't I? That was not a part of what you were saying. So I'm throwing that extra stuff out here. It's a channel of other people listening that might be going, you know what? Thanks for saying that. So that's what it's there for. The rest of it, I get out of it. Let's see. We have here spoken dreams, wonderful. Yeah, all that. So I think that there is a reason for us to have some sort of functional visions when we are having duress, times of intensity. I've seen that come and go for myself. I've also seen that childhood loss of, the deja vu, the knowing what's happening, or just being in the right place at the right time. All of that stuff just happens naturally again today. It went away for a long time. Now that I've, let go of things, and well, I'm sure I'm still hanging on to stuff. It's a never-ending process. I don't think I'll ever make it, but I'll never stop trying. So I think that's the objective here. I think when you think you make it, then that's where you've stopped trying. There's always some way to keep going on. But yeah, as far as the rest of it, then you can see that my views on it are that it's a much deeper thing than anything religious anywhere. And it's something that you can't stop, regardless of whether you speak for it or against it. It doesn't matter. What is happening is deeper than religion and God. It's an evolutionary process that's being ignored. In a normal, natural survival of the strongest, fittest, we're run out of space, what do? Yeah, the balance gets offset. Things are happening at deeper levels. We're a civilization. We don't look at it. That's not very civilized to think that's happening, is it? No, it's more civilized to think that as chosen ones, it belongs to us and not you. As far as, the biggest thing I can say is getting to the higher awareness and turning away from things. As long as you keep your face looking at everything going on, you can't turn away from it. You're going to keep seeing it and experiencing it. Ask yourself, what good does that do? It's not about not getting involved and making a difference. It's about being emotionally caught up into it to the degree that it wrecks your life, that you're not even living comfortably in your own head. You can make a difference without feeling that way. That's the problem. We have to get out of that feeling. We get caught up in it. It's not about turning away. It's about not being a part of it, being detached from it so that you can see it objectively. So you have to turn away from things. It's not just a matter of saying, oh, but I it's my responsibility to be worried about this situation over here. No, it's not. You can't interrupt it. Does it suck? Yeah. How are you going to manage it? Emotionally, it's your choice Whether you can't stop it, how do you want to feel about it? That's a difficult thing. You have to do it in your own head. It's a very personal thing. Not seeing it is very helpful. I cannot see that stuff without getting caught up in it. I cannot. It comes into your head. You got to quit looking at it. And then you have to stay from the higher awareness, knowing that, you know what, whatever is going to happen is going to happen, but I'm going to live from up here, detached from it, trying to do my best to help others. Yeah. Find the same place, perhaps. That's the only positive thing I can think of doing. Getting caught up in it doesn't help. Again, people come to me and start, did you see what so-and-so did or so-and-so? Yeah, did. No, and I don't want to. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm going to admit in public something I used to do at work. I would travel a lot. We'd stay in motels, conservative places. You get up 6 a.m. There's a certain news on that's like, oh, I can't wake up to this. People will be like, oh, you're not a morning person, huh? It's like, yeah, I am. I am a morning person. I want to hear the birds. I want to hear the patter of the rain. I want to hear the wind blowing. Something. It was like, oh my gosh, this was tough. And you would watch people that would just like have these heaps of food that would be like watching it, shoveling their food blindly into their face. And it was like, this is a very strange thing. I think I've seen this in some old movies before. Kind of the future of things coming. Yeah. So here's what I learned to do. I would go there. People start coming. It would start at 6. So I would get down there beforehand, before anybody showed up. And I would always get a hold of the lady that's getting set up, or whoever it was. Sometimes it was a guy. Typically it was the morning shift, whoever it was. And they're getting all the breakfast set up. And I would say, hey, I'm working in the area today. I need to know the weather. Can I put on the Weather Channel? Nobody ever stood in the way of that. They'd be like, oh yeah, go right ahead. And when people came in, people would watch the Weather Channel. As long as it was something benign like that was interesting, you'd watch that happen. And, yeah, I did that. At the same time, though, I can look back on that and I can watch people. I know from observing that people that watch that news would be, if you watch them and listen to them talk and shoot conversations and comments back and forth with each other, it's just this very, oh yeah, hey, this I have, it was, I'm not even gonna, you know the conversation. You see people just really getting agitated right off in the morning. You put the weather on and that doesn't happen. You're not only helping yourself, you're actually helping them start their day. They don't even know it. It's chilling them out. Who wants to wake up and start right off like that? Some of the things that would be helpful, the introverts, when you can pull it off, the Bluetooth headphones today have been a boon, haven't they? As far as just being able to put something in, and it's like I'm not devoid of media, but if I'm outdoors and it's quiet, I don't need anything. When I'm around clatter and things like that, I like it quieter. So it's just become so noisy in some places. So I like to put on the headphones and I've got my rain in the tent patter sound. Here's something that happens. Here's how you can observe how the brain wires. After listening to that for a couple of years to help as a source to shut things out, if I don't listen to it, I struggle to sleep without it. So think about that. You can look at how to wire your brain. That's what happens to us. Take a look at it. That's how we came about. Learn that and learn to interact with that. Okay, well, I think I've probably overdone the answer here, haven't I? I step off into the healing. I think a healing is a big part of the process. I think it's not my place to go. It's not my place to be. There's other teachers out there doing the healing. I don't know what I'm doing. Reading the material, trying to figure out what it says. I'm just posting my hobby work here in public. All right. I hope this was helpful. Yeah. There are things politically happening that I just step back from. It's like, yep, I know it, but I can. I'm not right in it. So I don't know where you are. There's something different. I can only give so much advice, which is really that each person try to find a way to disconnect and to not be emotionally caught up in it, knowing that each of our situations is going to be unique. So we have to find our own ways. But that is what you do. If you can find a way to live life observing without being gut-wrenchingly caught up in it or having things that you're dragging with you that continue to affect your life. If we can get ourselves away from that, extract ourselves and rise above it, we can see that we're not that, and we don't have to live that experience. We start there. That's our opportunity. That's the garden that we were planted in. So we can emerge from that garden. Again, though, and I have to stress the caveat. It depends on where you are. I get done recording here. You know what? While I'm putting this through some kind of a process where it's taking out the clicking sounds and things like that in my mouth, I can go and have some lunch. I can go walk into the backyard or drive down to the river and take a hike and things like that. I have the opportunity to do this, and I know that around the world people don't always have the same opportunity. So I'm very cognizant of the idea that saying something like this is from where you are at a place. I haven't always been in this place. There's times I would take my 3-day weekends and I would just go off with a backpack on my own and just be solo for 3 days. Then I'd be back at work. It hasn't always been this way. I've always sought out jobs that were like solo. You can go off and do things on your own. That just always happened. I think, I don't know if I sought those jobs. That's what always happened. Everything happened that just got me here, yeah. It seems like there's just pathways, somehow, something. And if you recognize what's happening and always make sure that whatever happened is a place that's behind you, make sure you look at it from both sides. Move on from things. We've got to let things go. I better end this. Hope the answer was okay. I know you talked about the connection there and stuff like that, and there's parts of it that I'm not connected with and I don't want to. And I think it's a freaking tragedy, and I'm glad I don't live there. I'm fortunate that I don't. Who am I to say anything? A dumb Western know-it-all. No, not me. All right. Hope it was helpful. See you in the next video.